Oh hey, I'm Emily and this is my best friend Rachel.
Hey, I'm Rachel, and in 2010, aged 18 and fresh out of secondary school,
We went on a gap year, travelling to 5 countries in 5 months.
shockingly, it didn't always go so well. We lost passports,
Ran out of money
jumped out of aeroplanes,
and landed ourselves in endless ridiculous scenarios.
but what we also managed to do is write a blog about our experiences.
And without smartphones or Instagram at our disposal, this blog is the only record we have of the trip of our young lives.
And 11 years on, we're reliving it all by reading back over our diary entries for your listening pleasure.
Welcome to the Gap Year Diaries podcast.
Hey, Emily.
Hi Rachel.
Hey, how y'all doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for episode 2.
Hello to the listeners who we just forgot to greet.
Just
Hey guys.
Thank you for tuning on in. Oh my gosh, what a week it's been. What a week.
What a week it's been.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So it's April right now, April 2021, and out here in old Bangkok, we've got another wave of cases, which is a bit tricky. We've been restricted. The public parks have been closed. Yeah, so that's been a bit sad,
Is
but
that the most,
it means
Is that the most COVID restrictions you've had?
we definitely couldn't go to malls at one point. I definitely feel that was true. So not as harsh as that, but it's just because of the festival Songkran, which is Thailand's New Year, that people get holiday off. It's a new year. People go and see families, but the more travel, more movement, more cases are rising. So we've had to keep indoors
problems.
mostly.
Yeah, I hear.
Yeah, exactly. So that's been me. I've just been chilling in my condo. How has your week been, Emily?
Yeah, it's been all right on the whole. I've really settled myself into this podcast with a nice chamomile tea and some slippers.
Ooh.
So I'm really bringing the energy this week.
Sort of bringing like winter vibes. I kind of like it. It's cozy.
Grandma vibes. But yeah, I did have a fun little occurrence, the latest occurrence in the series of ludicrous occurrences that I call my life, which was that I got a little email, Rachel, from these 2 gentlemen who live in Boulder, Colorado, and they have a podcast themselves. They're like us.
Wow. Well, what happened on this podcast? What's the link? It's so confused.
What on earth are you talking about? Please just elaborate. Yeah, so the email basically said, well, I mean, I'll need to give a bit of context for the listeners, but basically, listeners, I used to work for, and do still occasionally freelance write for, the beloved travel brand Lonely Planet. And last year, Rachel, impressed by it.
Ooh, even though I know this, it's still really
you,
impressive.
Of course, are aware of this. Yeah, and last year, I think it was last year anyway, I wrote a really quite seminal piece of journalism. Some have said Pulitzer worthy, which basically rounded up the 9 of the world's craziest mini golf courses. I know, hard-hitting stuff. Gotcha
you
journalism.
Love your crazy golf.
At its best. I do love crazy golf. Yes, I am an enthusiast. But as it turns out, are these 2 men, because they emailed basically to tell me that one episode of their podcast, which was based entirely on my article, because they just wanted to, for some reason, chat about mini golf for literally 59 mins. I listened to the
Oh
whole
my
thing.
God.
But yeah, they literally used my article as the basis for this full episode of their podcast. And they emailed me to tell me that, which I thought was adorable.
That is so weird and yet so exciting and sweet at the same time.
I know. It's just all sorts of feelings. And they very much very kindly shout out every time they think I've written about a course in a really talented way, which I just think is, I mean, I just couldn't believe it. It's one of the best things that's ever happened to me.
That is so amazing.
Possibly the best.
Well, let's only hope that they are listening back to this. What a strange...
I think the chances of them listening to this are minimal, but we can hope and dream. Anyway,
podcast times. That's why we're here.
That is why we're here. We constantly forget, but here we are. So just to recap on last week's podcast, we were famously, we had arrived quite with a certain amount of destruction and chaos to our very first hostel, Casa Yoses. Rachel had leapt from a bunk bed in the middle or the early hours of the morning and woken everyone up in our dorm. We had located the supermarket and we had discovered that one of the showers electrocuted us and the other one was a hotbed of cockroach fun. And I think we signed off the last blog by basically saying that we had minimal plans for this day that we're about to recount. It was a very chilled beginning to our gap year. We obviously just arrived at this hostel and thought, right, that's it, time to chill. No need to,
arrived at
do
Costa Rica.
Arrived in Costa Rica. Just straight chilling from there on out.
Bleary-eyed.
Blithering idiots. But as will become clear, our plans for an uneventful day did not come to fruition.
So, for this week's section of the podcast, we are going to be reading out the blog entry that Emily wrote. I will be reading the first half of the blog and Emily will be reading the second half. So, let's get right on into it. The blog, day 2. So, involving only an exciting supermarket trip. Famous last words. This is blog documents.
Oh, wow.
I'm not editing that out. Brilliant.
How has that typo made it through 11 years?
I don't know. This is blog document.
This is blog documents.
I have never noticed that. Wow.
Me neither. And I have re-edited and moved these blogs over various different sites, and I still just obviously kept that in. Thought it read really nicely.
Okay, well, I'll try reword it. This blog documents the first real day of our trip, or as I have renamed it, honestly the most unbelievably unfortunate and ridiculous day of my sweet life. Can I just also point out, this is from Emily's perspective, not mine. So anytime you hear it's from Emily, and then I'll be switching over back to me. So it's just really great and confusing for our listeners. Have fun.
Enjoy this podcast that we put together for you. My first thing I'd like to say is I love how incredibly dramatic that opening line is.
No, but it's strong, it's a good grabbing gambit. Oh, a bit of illiteracy there.
Yeah, obviously I had absolutely zero chill. Age 19, zero chill. I mean, obviously it was a stressful day, but I feel like I could have been a little bit more, I could have kept it in perspective.
It was stressful. Anyway, you will find out more as we delve in. The start of the day was fairly uneventful, involving just lazing around, writing the first blog entries, searching and mouldering cupboards for breakfast and plates without dead bugs hanging around in them, and stalking down Facebook accounts. Emily, it was Facebook back then, because did Instagram exist? No.
What I think actually only just did exist, to be fair. I think it was
founded
founded
it only came out when we were actually at uni. I honestly remember.
Anyway, we could argue about this. This is for a different podcast. The kind of podcast that would email me.
Okay.
We were very much into Facebook at the time. I don't know why we were spending our time stalking people's Facebook accounts whilst we were literally on the fucking adventure of our lives. But continue, Rachel.
I shall. Okay. The trouble began when we foolishly decided to go out to buy some food. I mean, really, we should have known better. After both taking some dollars and our credit cards from our capitally cool money belts, I'll get back to that bit later, we decided to leave the residual cash in our locker in our room and purchased a padlock from reception, to keep everything safe. After this was secured, off we trundled to the automercado.
Great Spanish
right,
accent.
Emily.
Yes, Rachel.
You're welcome. Emily, would you like to explain to our listeners what the hell a money belt is?
I would love to. I'd love nothing more in this world. So a money belt, I mean, it kind of does what it says on the tin. It's essentially a sort of like flat wallet that has an attached belt that clips around your waist. And the idea is that you wear it like around your waist, but underneath all of your clothes. And it contains your most valuable possessions, i.e. money, passport. That's it, really. Keys, I don't know, the kind of stuff that you need. Phone, if it was charged, which ours weren't. And the idea is that you not once. The idea is that you keep it obviously like as close to your person as possible, and it's hard for people to steal. It also means that every time you need to get money out to pay for something, you basically have to like do a little striptease and pull up several layers of your clothes to access it, and also just really quite obviously show everyone this is where I keep my money, like in the most sort of like exhibitionist way, like da da da, here's my money. It's on my tummy. Sorry.
Money on my tummy, baby.
Money on my tummy.
You want some of this?
But anyway, we had both purchased a money belt prior to the trip during the time when we thought we'd need to purchase such ludicrous things as water purification tablets. We each purchased ourselves a money belt to keep our possessions safe. We had very different approaches to them after this day, but obviously that will all become clear. That's what money belts are. Do you have anything to add? That was quite aggressive, sorry. Do you want anything more? What do you want to say?
Not really, because it will just give away what I'm probably about to go off and say. Back at the hostel, we spent a leisurely few hours eating and swinging around in a hammock, unaware that some serious trouble had gone down. This revelation came clear when I decided to put my leftover cash and card back into the locker, and so fished the key out of my pocket and removed the padlock. I did at this point notice that the metal hook on the locker door had come loose and had been twisted around, but in my nothing will happen to me for I am in Costa Rica mindset, thought nothing of it. One progressively more and more frantic search later, and I was informing Rachel that my sexy money belt was not at all where I had left it. Understandably assuming it was my own idiocy that meant I couldn't find my stuff, Rach began to search through the locker and our bags until she came out with this deeply concerning sentence. "Shit! Where the hell is my money belt? Emily, it had my passport in it!"
Oh my gosh,
Rachel
that was chilling. That really took me back.
Rachel too had left hers in the safe, and so slowly my jet-lagged mind put two and two together. I think the guy at reception must have had done something spectacularly bad in a past life to have had to deal with this situation and Rachel's mild hysteria, but the police were contacted, the locker examined, and then he did some surmising. So I thought that said something else. Emily, anything to add to this? So sorry, that was in Emily's perspective. So it was me that could not find the passport in the locker. What was going through your mind at that point, Emily, when you were just you were there, we had just finished shopping, you had a bit of cash, you thought, I'm just going to put it in the locker, like put it away, safe and sound, whatever. And then you were just going to come back into the computer room. What was going through your mind?
I think like I'm really terrible in a crisis because I kind of just don't process things. Like my brain is sort of just like, it kind of goes into like Homer Simpson mode. Where it's
kind of like freeze.
Yeah, it's just like buffering. Where it's like, I don't know what's happening. I think I was like, okay, this is clearly not good. I think that was basically like, if I could summarise it. I know that's not what you're hoping for. This is bad. This is a bad situation. I think I was just like really I think I was just shocked and surprised that the padlock had been twisted off. And you know when like something like, because you get warned obviously, and you're like, be careful, da da da, but you always think like, oh no, it'll be fine, like it's not actually going to happen. So you still kind of have that mindset even when presented with evidence that it has happened. You're just like, no, this must be some kind of elaborate joke. But then I think obviously I was like, hang on, no, I think some actual shit has gone down. Kind
of like, where's the delete button or the back button in this situation?
Yeah, literally, like Control Alt Delete this moment, like what has happened. I don't think I fully understood. Obviously I didn't fully understand the extent of the problem until you realised that your passport was missing, because of course like having money stolen is one thing.
I remember when you were like, Rach, I can't find it. And I remember, honestly, it's going to sound really horrible, but I remember being like exasperated. I was like, oh, Emily, of course, like, because in my
that's fair
head
enough,
I was like,
I am terrible at looking for things.
no, it was more like, of course it's going to be there, because we both did this only a matter of hours ago and we could put a padlock on it. Like, in my head it was there or not there, so it must have been there logically. Okay. So yeah, when I joined you to find it, and I thought we're definitely going to find this, and then when it's like, oh my god, no, you're right, it really isn't here, then it was just so, like, I don't know, I think it was one of the most, like, kind of shocking moments. I know that sounds dramatic, but it was really scary to think that happened. And then when it hit me with my passport, then I remember just getting this flood of fear. So when you wrote mild hysteria, that was actually true. I think I
would delete the word mild.
I flew off.
I would delete the word mild.
Yeah, no, it was full on Rachel hysteria, which is not anything that anyone wants to see.
I mean, to be fair, like,
oh
the
God.
one thing that you're told, I mean, everyone knows this. Like, if you go traveling, what is the most important thing? Your passport. Like, everyone does that, like, pat down every 10 seconds where they're like, do I have my passport? Do I have my passport?
Oh my God, yeah.
Like, it's literally like your lifeline. It feels like if you don't have your passport, then you don't exist. So to lose it is, like, really, really quite traumatic. So I do understand your hysteria. Obviously it was difficult for me because, well, not difficult, I was the victim. No, that's not at all what I mean. Obviously what I meant to say was it was a different kind of vibe for me, because obviously my passport hadn't been stolen, and I think we realised why a bit later, but, like, my passport hadn't been stolen, so I obviously didn't have that personal, like, terror, but I of course had the terror on your behalf, and obviously I was like, well, I'm obviously not going to leave Rachel and abandon you or anything, so, like, if you're stuck somewhere, then I'm obviously going to be stuck with you.
Yeah, oh my God, and that guilt when I realised as well that you were equally with me with this, I felt really, like, I felt sick. I felt like I had ruined something that you had come out with me for. I felt so guilty. I felt so frustrated that I didn't take it out. So the reason I put it in the locker was to keep it safe, and then you took yours with you, I think, and that was safer.
No, I didn't take mine with me, but basically what it was that we'd just taken a bit of cash out of our money belts, hadn't we? Yeah. And we hadn't put our money belts on because of my insistence that they were lame. So really, this is all my fault. And I'd left my passport in the locker, but it wasn't in my money belt, whereas yours was. And so I think what it was is obviously whoever was taking it was just after money, so they'd just taken the money belts. Because, you know, they're, like, as we've discussed, real sort of, like, blaring sirens, like, signs of here's some money in this money belt. Yeah. So they'd just obviously taken those two money belts and not had any use for a passport, so just left mine there. But because yours was in the money belt, it obviously got taken as well. That's pretty much what it was. But yeah,
I also, so I do remember that now that you bring it back up. I also remember in that moment when my passport wasn't there, feeling like I was in such trouble with my dad, because my dad had said to me, don't, like, misplace your passport, and I am, like, neurotic making sure I know where my passport is. So I had that feeling, and then my second feeling was,
there were a lot of feelings, I remember.
Just feelings, just really young in that moment. Like, I'm not adult enough to handle this. This is too big for me. I did not expect this. But then, thankfully, I remembered the book I read in preparation for the gap year. What happens if your passport gets stolen? And at the time, I remember reading it going, that won't happen. But you had to report it within 24 hours. And that's the next bit of this blog. So what the receptionist thought had happened was a new member of staff had been in reception, and despite the fact that all guests have to have their passport checked by the receptionist staff on entry, she had fallen victim to a seasoned criminal's master plan, a woman checking in, pretending she had left her passport in the car. She was let in by this bemused new employee and must have simply used her life of crime strength to twist open our locker and also grab herself a nice money pouch from the bed of a German woman also sleeping in our room. So this woman just pretended she wanted to have a room and then got quite lucky with the new receptionist, snuck into our locker and just managed to tear it open somehow with a crowbar?
I have a lot of questions about
I have
this.
so many questions. Like, how did the receptionist not notice this blatant daylight theft?
Exactly. And how does he so immediately have such a detailed account? I'm not trying to say that there's some sort of conspiracy, but I do think that he really did just make up a story to like shut us up, probably. Like, I think that we're an easy target, obviously. It was weird that it got taken out of a locker that had a padlock on it. Like, you'd imagine this kind of thing to happen if you just left stuff laying around, because it's like, you know, quite a easy opportunist thing to do. But to literally like also use your brute force strength to open I mean, if I was that receptionist, I'd be like, let's look into the brand of padlocks we're using to like rent out, because clearly
and how
they're
was the whole room
malleable.
Empty at that point as well?
I don't know.
It was also empty.
There's a lot going on. We've never really looked in much depth into this.
No, it's like a trauma meeting. This, isn't it?
It's like a trauma meeting, which is not
for
what
idiots.
we intended. For idiots. But anyway, like, the facts of the matter remain that your passport got stolen. Obviously, the money was really like annoying, and you know, it was money that we'd worked hard to earn. But you can, you know, not irreplaceable, but it's not as hard to replace as a passport. So we focus very much onto the passport.
You were very amazing.
But as you say, like, you were very quick to say, like, we need to report this to the police, which I obviously, as the sort of bumbling fool that I am, would have had no idea. And nowadays I would have just Googled it on my phone, but obviously
we didn't. Well, I mean, we could have gone to the computer and done the same, but
over to
it was sort of like, where's the adult? Where's the adult in this situation?
So we did.
I
use
felt
that
like
poor
12
receptionist as the adult.
Oh my god, that God, I really grilled into him.
He had a bad shift. That shift.
Oh my god. I had a. Oh my god, I had just like a bee in my bonnet, and I was not going to let it go. This receptionist was going to help on hell or high water.
It's probably why he was pressured into creating this madcap story. We were like, what's going on here? And we were also very, very grateful for his help. Sorry, like, I don't want to sound like we were too old school Karens, like, we want to speak to the manager. Like, we were like, thank you so much for helping. Obviously Rachel was like, you know, very upset, understandably, but in the days that followed, we did show our gratitude for all his help.
We really did. Didn't we get him something as well, or like just probably every time Rachel, we saw it, like, Wolfie, thank you.
We got him something completely strange that he'd never worn. Some minutes after this bombshell, Rach and I found ourselves in one of the seatbeltless San Jose taxis, speeding on down to the police station. It took all of my mental prowess to wheel the discarded bits of GCSE Spanish out from the cobwebbed, festering corners of my brain, but eventually I managed to arse my way round to the correct department, where we were told that we would have to wait another half hour for the translator to arrive. We whiled away this time, quietly raging to ourselves and watching snippets of an obscure Spanish sitcom about cowboys and retirement homes on the TV in the waiting room. Eventually, though, we were called over. I mean, that paragraph's pretty amazing.
That is an amazing paragraph. I just love this Spanish sitcom about cowboys and retirement.
What are they called? There's a name for them, and I wish I could search this. There's a special name.
Oh, you did know this because you told me it. I was like,
there's
okay,
a special name
I've
for
never
like
that.
a Latinx type like sitcom. Cool. Like, I'll look it up because I feel like I'm being stupidly ignorant and I should know. But obviously we had no idea what it was, and it had no sound. And even if it had sound, our Spanish was not good enough to comprehend the sort of strange plot that was playing out on the screen.
But it was so bizarre that it was kind of calming. Like, it just put me in this sort of like stupor mood.
I remember we were sat on those like white plastic chairs that you get, like my grandparents used to have them. And we were just sat watching, like, with our necks craned up at this like small little screen with this weird like cowboy strutting around, and we were just like, how's our life led us to this point?
How have our life choices got us here?
Also, I do want to give a shout out to my GCSE Spanish. Because,
I was just about to say,
Oh, thank you. I don't honestly know how I managed to express in Spanish what had happened, considering I'd literally, as mentioned,
it's not really what you prepare for in GCSE Spanish, is it?
It's not in the oral exam, no. It's usually just like, what do you like to do? I like to go swimming. It's very interesting. I go on holiday with my mum and dad. It's not like We were in a hostel and someone forced the padlock off our locker, stole our passport, and now here we are in this police station trying to get a report written up. Please help us. We're only 18 and 19.
But
maybe I'd have, I mean, I did get an A star, you know, humble brag, but maybe I'd have got an even better A star if I had gone down that road in my oral exam.
I mean, thank God for that A star, because it did help us out in this.
It was quite a well used A star in a Spanish GCSE.
Yeah, it really was, thank God.
Shall I read the next bit?
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Right, okay. So yeah, eventually though, we were called over. The combination of our intense annoyance. I think we were annoyed, just to clarify, because we were annoyed primarily because Rachel's passport had been stolen, but we were also annoyed because we'd been waiting for a long time, which I understand is just life. But when you're frustrated and you just want some sort of resolution, it does kind of culminate in a bit of kind of, edginess to your personality.
Residual, irritation.
Yes, very true. The combination of our intense annoyance, Rachel's hurried explanations, translators' hearty failure to understand English, meant it was a ridiculously long time before we had our reports written up. This guy, bless him, was just having absolutely none of our hysteria. He was just, whatever we said, he was going to go at his own glacial pace. And I've written up the dialogue here. Which is one of Rachel's favourite bits from the blogs.
It really is. I love it.
So Rachel has requested that we attempt to act it out in a sort of GCSE drama sort of vibe.
That was my subject.
I know you did do GCSE drama. You're very good at it. We're really shouting out our school qualifications today. So shall we do this?
Yeah.
Shall I play the
officer?
So
basically, Emily's going to be officer and I'm going to play me, Rachel.
Okay, let's try this. It's an experiment that we're taking you all along with. Okay, it's me first. Okay. So you know the suspect, what they like.
No, we don't know her, but if you ring the hostel at this number, they'll know all the details. Hands over the hostel business card.
Officer taking business card. Okay.
Sorry, do that again. I laughed. Sorry. Do that
again. Officer takes business card. Okay. Puts card to one side and continues to tap away at keyboard.
Me. Well, you're not going to get through to them on there.
So, what does the suspect look like?
We don't know. That's why we suggested you ring the hostel, because they'll know.
Okay. Continues to tap away at keyboard. Were you doing
conversations? Yeah, it was.
This is like one of those weird plays on Radio 4 where you tune in and you don't know what the fuck's going on.
That just add a little, little conversation continues this way for a while.
Okay, so you can write name on here. Hands us each half a ripped sheet of paper.
Is this an official form?
Oh, give me a break!
End scene.
End scene. Curtain down. I think that went really well, Rachel.
I think we did pretty well.
I think I
really earned that GCSE B in drama right there.
I would definitely give that a B. But yeah, so as you can hopefully work out, the officer was really just absolutely super cash, and Rachel and I were like, could you just please do something? And he was like tapping away, obviously just like looking forward to clocking off at the end of the day, which is, as we say, fair enough. Bless him. But anyway, so shall I read on?
Yeah.
Okay. Finally, just as he had hit the hallowed print button to print our reports, which I think was about a good 4 to 5 hours after we'd begun.
Oh, it just felt like so
desk.
Long. Yeah. So long.
He proceeded to rummage around in a drawer under his desk and produced, not an official form or anything of the sort, but a bag of hard candy, which he proceeded to hand out to us. Upon this, I commented, "What is this, Willy Wonka's robbery investigation?" Which I think is which I have highlighted as a lame gag, but Rachel thinks it's hilarious.
No, I absolutely love that because it was just so quick, and it was just like, what is this Willy Wonka's robbery investigation? You said it so bitterly as well.
Because why was he giving us hard candy? We were trying to, why was he giving us hard candy at the end of this ordeal? He was just like, obviously just cracked some out for himself and was like, I mean, it was kind of him to offer it to us. That was a sweet gesture.
It just kind of highlighted the ridiculousnnousness of that situation. Just kind of a comedy, a bit of a joke, children meddling in things they don't really understand.
Yeah.
And it was just the really sharp way you said it. Why is this Willy Wonka's robbery investigation?
Obviously, the translator did not get the gag. He was not lolling away with us. Okay, and there's just a tiny bit more of the blog.
Teeny tiny bit.
Here I go. Once back at the hostel, I thought it might be a plan to put all of my valuables in my bag and padlock it shut. After doing this, I realised there were a few dollars left out, and so I attempted to open the padlock to slip them in. For absolutely no reason whatsoever, the padlock just refused to open, and after many a struggle, had to be lopped off with a huge pair of pliers by the poor reception guy. Bless his Costa Rican heart. That's what it says. I remember these pliers were like a metre long. He had to stand like a metre away from my bag to lop off this stupid padlock, which I was like, why is this happening? It was just the irony of it.
But like, bless you, because I remember like you kind of, I'm not surprised, but you broke at that moment, and I felt like there was nothing I could say.
That was my moment.
I felt like if I said anything, it just would have been the wrong thing. So I just remember keeping really quiet.
I
and
would
just
have
really
slapped you around the face with the pliers.
Yeah. I was up in my bunk and I was like, I'm quite safe here, but I knew there was nothing I could have done in that moment to have helped you as well. I just would have ended up annoying you out of just the situation. So thank
funny.
God for the pair of pliers.
I love getting this insight like 11 years later, because obviously I was just blind to anything else happening other than this fucking padlock not opening, and you were just obviously hunkered up like, oh dear.
I was like, oh my God,
Emily is
like
livid down
I
there.
just remember thinking it's my fault, this has all happened, and now the bloody padlock is not opening.
It wasn't your fault at all. It was no one's fault.
But I just knew I couldn't comfort. Even if I wanted to comfort you, I knew it wouldn't comfort you. So
I
just
be comforted in those moments. I turned into a sort of angry monster. But yeah, that poor reception guy. I can't believe it was the same guy. Like, what a long fucking shift for him.
God,
but I also love.
Exhausted.
Yeah, I love that he just had those pliers quite easily to hand. I've never seen pliers like them. They were almost comically large. It was kind of just like, it was like the universe giving me a big old fuck you at the end of the day.
I do wonder what happened to my passport after that day. I do also.
Such an interesting line of inquiry. What happened to your passport?
Yeah, I mean, didn't they have CCTV cameras? But probably not.
No, I don't think they did. Not in Casillas. I'll just read the very last lines of this, and then we can crack on. Because come on, we've got shit to do. Okay. We still need to go to the embassy to get Rachel an emergency passport. We tried today, but alas, we're informed that it is closed on Saturdays. What a brilliant day it's been. As we learnt, embassies are closed most of the time, I think, is something that we came to learn to be true. That was the first of many aborted attempts to actually go to the embassy. But closed on Saturdays. I mean, that's kind of fair enough, but turns out not just Saturdays that it's closed.
I mean, at one point we went to the embassy, and you remember there was a sign from Word Art saying it was closed on the door.
Art.
Yeah.
I love how you say it. Not just Word Art, from Word Art. Yeah, I do remember. Like, it was that like blue, like wavy one where it was like
yes, it actually was the blue wavy one. Yeah, that's exactly what it was
for what it was announcing.
Embassy closed.
Embassy closed.
And we were like, we've just spent so long getting here, we have to go all the way back.
Yeah, because it wasn't a short journey, was it? It was like
a
full-on 40 minutes in a taxi and then a walk or something. Like, it was. Or we took a bus at one point.
All right.
Moving on to moving on. Okay, so who was the best person we met in all of this? We met quite a few peeps. Which one was the one that stole your heart?
I mean, I have to say the best person we met was kind of similar to the last episode. Person we didn't meet. I would say the person who stole my passport was surprisingly to me the best person I met, because that person taught me a good couple of life lessons, which I'll get to in the next bit. Emily, what was your best person that you met? I mean, I'm mysterious.
I mean, it's absolutely got to be the translator. It's just got to be him. And I also love how he was a translator and also a police officer. Like, he was moonlighting as the two. Maybe he was just a police officer that happened to speak some English. I don't know. But they introduced him to us as the translator. But yet he did still do all the official handing out of hard candy and tapping away at the keyboard. But I just loved how he remained so resolutely chill, apart from when he exploded at the end and just told us to give him a break.
Yeah. I did feel a bit told off at that point.
I found him an enchanting man, and handing out the hard candy was just like the absolute, like, pun intended, icing on top of the cake, because I was just like, I mean, what else would you do in that situation?
So we move on to the next bit of the lesson that we've learned. So kind of upon reflection of this episode, what have we learned? Emily, I will be asking you first.
Will you?
Yeah.
Well, I will be asking you right back, because I need to think. So I'm going to circle back round to you.
That it's a weird one, but I've learned you could just never be 100% safe. And there is something oddly freeing about that you don't have control over everything, and there will be things that will go wrong. You can only trust your best judgment and not be so hard on yourself if it does go wrong. I mean, logically, putting something important inside a locker that you trust, that should have been fine.
We did trust that locker.
It went wrong. So it's a bit like, knowing that we could then fix it, it just kind of put a little bit more trust in myself to know, like, what to do, like remembering that scrap of information, go to the police officer within 24 hours, and to know that, things will find a way of working themselves out. That was a bit of an intimidating experience, but we had each other, and I also just learned that me and you, we were really strong with that, and I appreciate all the help and support you gave me during that really hard moment. So cheers mate.
Oh, you're welcome.
That's all right.
I think it's also crazy that it happened on the second day of our trip as well. I think that's what makes it even more intense, is that like, we hadn't even had time to, like, settle ourselves into this massive sort of, like, shift in everything really, shift in all sorts of different ways that we weren't used to living in, and then straight away this fairly seismic thing happened. I mean, those are lovely lessons, Rachel. Really truly top notch.
Oh, cheers, mate.
Mine is, so after this, obviously our money belts have been stolen. You were insistent for some reason on getting another. So we bought you another one. I went very much the other way and viewed them from that point onwards with not only sartorial disdain, but also with deep, deep mistrust. I was like, these money belts are responsible for this, even though, even though if we had worn our money belts, this problem wouldn't have happened. So really, I was completely misguided. But I was like, I will never, ever let a money belt touch my skin as long as I live.
Yeah, you hated them.
I hated them with a deep, deep passion. You wore yours absolutely all of the frigging time. And I can't emphasize that enough. And listeners, you will see this as we progress.
I really did.
But I don't think that's really a lesson learned, but it was certainly a principle that I clearly, like, took with me. It was something I nailed my colours to the flag of with much passion.
Yeah, you absolutely hated them, and I went the other way and I just clung to mine. I guess what it was is because my passport got taken when it wasn't on me, so my thing was like, right, if I keep it on me, then I can't get it lost.
I mean, your reaction makes much more sense. I'll say that.
But then I can also understand why, like, putting money inside a money belt is just like a target, so also that also makes sense. But just some different reactions, different horses for courses.
Ways that we process things. We went very different ways with it. I can't remember where I kept my money as an alternative. Probably just wafted it around. In my hand.
I think just in a purse, just like any normal person would. Yeah.
Yeah. Could have just gone down that traditional route. But yeah, that's my lesson, if you can call it that. Yeah, well, I guess we've come to the end of that, which was a really quite auspicious episode, because that's really, I mean, the theft of Rachel's passport frames and shapes our experience for the entire trip.
Yeah,
so
it does.
It is quite an important occurrence. But yeah. Anyway, next time.
Just on that note, Emily, as well, that for those, that we know, the passport wasn't lost, it was stolen.
Yes, this is a sore point for Rachel, even 11 years later. Constantly people refer to this passport as lost.
Yes, it wasn't lost.
But as you've heard, it absolutely was not lost. Rachel was not careless in any way. We took every precaution we could. We were just very unlucky. It was stolen. Forcibly stolen from her. So never ever make that mistake again, people we know. Anyway, next week we will be looking to happier times, when Rachel and I made our way to the Costa Rican coast, to the beach, to start conserving some sea turtles that didn't ask to be conserved. Yay!
Yeah, we went to the Caribbean beach. It was really fun, and
it was great.
Treasured times. We can't wait to share that with you and all the adventures we went on. So get excited for that. And
in the meantime, if you're unlikely, but if you're desperate for more, you can follow us on Instagram at Gap Year Diaries Podcast. And you can subscribe to the podcast wherever you find it, wherever your podcasts tend to come from. And you can also give us a review, ideally 5 stars. But,
please.
I've got to... please 5 stars. But, I can't force you. So...
Yeah, look at us.
If it's not 5 stars, just don't give us a review, okay? But yeah, look at our little faces, think of what we went through, and just think, throw them a bone.
Look how gorgeous we looked 11 years ago as well.
We really tried our best to reenact that scene with all of the gravitas it deserves. And I think that scene alone is worth 5 stars, if I'm honest.
Yeah, bringing back the GCSEs. No, thank you so much. And Emily, goodbye, and listeners.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.